Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about the choice every single tabletop role-playing game participant makes, whether they're a game master or a dungeon master or a player, when a D&D canon hardback comes out, for supporting Hasbro, right? And this ethical choice. And so this is incredibly complex, and you guys, I cannot thank you guys enough. I can't believe a single person in the world listens to what I say about Dungeons & Dragons. And the reason why is it's so deep in the weeds, so meta, and so nuanced that I'm so thankful to each and every one of you who's willing to sit through a 10-minute video for me to, get to my point and actually talk about the deepest in the weeds meta subjects on Dungeons & Dragons. And I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate each and every one of you who engages with my content. Whether you're commenting, whether you're liking, whether you're sharing, whether you're subscribing, whether you're doing all of those, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So let's get into this incredibly complicated topic. So a lot of people are upset with Hasbro, and they're saying and a lot of them came and they said, "Hey, do not go see Dungeons & Dragons on Honor Among Thieves because Hasbro is not an ethical corporation," right? And I'll tell you right now, I think they were 100% wrong, and I really despise the fact that they were so effective in making sure that people didn't go, see it. But I have to say, I understand where they're coming from because I just hit this on another product, right? So I want to talk about my understanding of people making ethical choices around Hasbro from another perspective that helps me to understand. So I disagree. So in 2023, I'm telling you legit, I would say all the way going back to the first steps of 1D&D. Let's go back all the way to the beginning of 1D&D, right? Which no longer exists, and now it's just the 2024 PHB DMG MM revision, right? If you go all the way back, okay, to that point, I don't think from then till now Hasbro has made a single ethical mistake. I think everything they did with OGL was absolutely needed and were the right steps. I think every single thing they did with the Pinkerton issues, right steps in my humble opinion. Protecting Dungeons & Dragons exactly the way Dungeons & Dragons needs to be protected, right? And I think they're a global corporation that has the most valuable tabletop role-playing game in the world, and they're trying to defeat the video game market and get people to do something that is literally far more valuable for them to do, and get people, just help people escape screens, help people escape the absolute soul-sucking potential pit that video games are, and do something meaningful with their lives and actually transform their understanding of identity, narrative, and language, right? And just change and be better humans. That's what this is about. I really, in my humble opinion, get on D&D, you become a better human. Go play another sad sack video game, you regress and you harm American society massively. That's the choice, in my humble opinion, right? So there's a lot here, right? And so basically, every time Hasbro makes a misstep, there's 100 plus powerful D&D commentators who come and they castigate Hasbro nonstop, and they celebrate every misstep, they castigate at every opportunity, right? And they say Hasbro is an ethical corporation, right? I disagree 100%, but I get it. And here's how I get it, okay? Because I am exactly here. Where I need to make an ethical choice in my next purchase. And it is causing my stomach to turn. I'm like, it's working an ulcer in me. This thing is so... And the thing is, this is what you don't understand. We have reached Maslow's pinnacle. We are doing incredibly well in America. And I think, and honestly, I have to say, I'm very fortunate to be a coastal elite, and I have first world problems, baby, right? But these problems are real, and they cause real angst, and actually can really impact our mental state. So here's the one that's impacting me right now, and I want to talk about it, and then I'll talk about it in context of Dungeons & Dragons. So right now, I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm like most comic book fans, I'm a huge Batman fan, and I've been a Batman fan since I was 6 years old, right? And so I went and saw in the theaters multiple times. I waited in lines that were an hour and a half long to see Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, right? Right now, The Flash is coming out, and I am very excited to see Michael Keaton as the Batman again, right? But I'm like so torn up because if I buy a ticket to this and go see this, I am actively destroying America. Now, why is that? In my humble opinion, it is a choice to actively destroy America. Let me explain to you what's at stake here, right? Ezra Miller. I listened to Grace Randolph. For the last year, Grace Randolph has reported on Ezra Miller again and again and again and again, and never anything about his films, right? Like the films is always secondary. It's like Ezra Miller did this, Ezra Miller did this, Ezra Miller did this, Ezra Miller did this, and actually, I should say allegedly, when I listened to Grace Randolph, movie reviewer, she didn't want to report on any of this, right? But Ezra Miller is in the Harry Potter franchise, and he is the star of The Flash, the central main star of The Flash, right? And when I have listened to, Ezra Miller, I apologize, Ezra Miller, when I listened to her talk about Ezra Miller, they is his correct pronoun. Apologies if I missed that earlier. When Ezra Miller, right? When I listened to Grace Randolph cover Ezra Miller, it appeared to me, in my humble opinion, listening to her, it seemed like a crime spree. Literally, as though Ezra Miller had went on a crime spree. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's how I understood her continual reports of his activities in the world. It truly looked to me like, just my humble opinion, not stating this as fact, I'm saying it sounded to me like Ezra Miller was going on a crime spree, right? And I think if you look at the coverage of Ezra Miller over the last year, it looks like he went on a crime spree, okay? So now, in order to see Michael Keaton's Batman, I need to reward behavior that, in my humble opinion, what in my humble opinion is behavior that, in my humble opinion, really appears to be a crime spree, right? And that the reality of this is, if I buy a ticket to this, I am saying I support what Ezra Miller did. And frankly, I don't want to do that, right? Especially, right? And here's the issue. Warner Brothers is putting me in this position. Because Warner Brothers looked at what Ezra Miller did and said, blockbuster, promotion, distribution, everything. What is the impact for Ezra Miller's choices? Well, it's for his movie to be fully promoted and for his movie to be fully distributed as the next major blockbuster. Jonathan Majors. I am a huge fan of Jonathan Majors, right? I went to see him in every single Marvel film. I watched him in Lovecraft Country. I watched him in Creed, right? Creed 3. Just went to see it. The news of what happened with Jonathan Majors literally broke while I was in the theater, and people in the theater were talking about what was happening, right? In the theater, as I watched Creed 3, people were talking about what happened with Jonathan Majors. What happened with Jonathan Majors? He made one choice, and he took one action, and his entire career, his management studio canceled him. There is major talks that he will be removed from the MCU, that he will be removed from the Creed series. There will be no season 2 of Lovecraft Country, and that his entire career is finished. Ezra Miller is white, Jonathan Majors is black. If I go see The Flash and then continue to watch television shows from Marvel and watch movies from Marvel, who is right now, it appears, moving to distance themselves and replace Jonathan Majors, then I am actively building a world where, in my humble opinion, white person's crime spree, distribute the film, put everything up on the screen, black person, one event, cancel everything. It is absolutely ethically abominable. I cannot see a world where I can honestly, ethically purchase a ticket to The Flash. But this is Batman, man. And it is tearing my stomach apart because I so don't want to see this world built, right? But I want to see Michael Keaton. I want to see Michael Keaton return to a role that he started in 1989, right? 23 plus 11 is 34. I want to see a performance that is 34 years in the making, that fundamentally connects to every single comic book I have ever bought since I was 8 years old, right? But how can I? The ethics of it are horrific. I will be actively building a world where white people win and black people lose. And it is ethically abominable. And anyone who purchases a ticket to The Flash, in my humble opinion, is actively setting us back culturally 50 years. 50 years to the times of segregation, to the times of hatred, to the times where you could not point to an American president who was black, right? To a time where what black people were allowed to do was completely capped, right? And so I'm so torn up about this, right? So I want to tell you, right? I don't think Hasbro has made a single ethical misstep, right? But the reason why is I look at their actions and I think everything they did was warranted to protect Dungeons and Dragons. But I understand you. If you're like, I can't, in good ethics, buy another D&D canon hardback because you listened to the 100+ D&D commentators who castigate Hasbro and celebrate their every misstep, right? And so I understand the difficultness of supporting companies that you have ethical issues with, right? So I think you're wrong. I think Hasbro 100% made all the right decisions, right? But I have incredible sympathy for you and empathy for you if not buying Hasbro product is an ethical choice for you, right? Because I am here. Warner Brothers has put me at the point of one of the greatest cultural decisions I will ever need to make. I think the right decision is for me not to see The Flash, right? But it is going to be painful. And I'm literally worrying every day and losing sleep over seeing something that is incredibly important to me, right? And I know everybody's like, oh, it's just comic books, it's just who cares, right? It matters to me. These are stories and these are memories that go back decades for me. This echoes with every purchase for a comic book artist, or a comic book writer, a comic book layer, a comic book inker, right? Turning my back on Batman now is me turning my back on 1,000 choices to support art. And it's painful. It's painful. So you and I disagree on Hasbro, but I want you to know I'm not ignoring your pain. I do know that for some people this is painful because I am here. I am here. This is a touchy, it's a very complicated, complex issue, right? I did my best to cover this with honesty and transparency and not make any accusations. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion, right? What's important is when I get to hear, oh, and if I got any of it wrong, please correct. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll make corrections on what I've said. That's my best coverage of this topic, right? And I just wanted to say I empathize with you. I'm here on a different product. I'm where you are on D&D on a different product, right? Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's really important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.